Chapter 7. Gertrude's dress, for all that she might once have been rich, was dirty, and the black, greasy, knitted cap that she wore on her head made him ashamed. Although his money was little, he bought her a red dress and a white thing that they called a turban for her head, also a shirt, a pair of short trousers, and a jersey for the boy, and a couple of stout handkerchiefs for his mother to use on his nose. In his pocket was his post office book, and there was £10 there that he and wife were saving to buy the stove, for that, like any woman, she had long been wanting to have. To save £10 from a stipend of £8 a month takes much time and patience, especially for a parson who must dress in good black clothes. His clerical collars were brown and frayed, but they must wait now a while. It was a pity about the £10 that it would sooner or later have to be broken into, but the trains did not carry for nothing, and they would no doubt get £1 or 2 for her things. Strange that she had saved nothing from her sad employment, which brought in much money, it was said. Gertrude was helping Mrs. Litebe in the house, and he could hear her singing a little. The small boy was playing in the yard with small pieces of brick and wood that a builder had left. The sun was shining, and even in this great city there were birds, small sparrows, that chirped and flew about in the yard. But there was Msimangu coming up the street. He put aside the letter that he was writing to his wife of the journey in the train and the great city Johannesburg and the young man who had stolen his £1, of his quick finding of Gertrude and his pleasure in the small boy, and above all, that this day would begin the search for their son. "Are you ready, my friend?" "Yes, I am ready. I am writing to my wife. Though I do not know her, send her my greetings." They walked up this street and down another and up yet another. It was true what they said, that you could go up one street and down another till the end of your days and never walk the same one twice. "Here is your brother's shop. You see his name?" "Yes, I see it." "Shall I come with you?" "Yes, I think that would be right." His brother John was sitting there on a chair, talking to 2 other men. He had grown fat and sat with his hands on his knees like a chief. His brother he did not recognize, for the light from the street was on the backs of his visitors. "Good morning, my brother." "Good morning, sir." "Good morning, my own brother, son of our mother." John Kumalo looked closely at him and stood up with a great hearty smile. "My own brother! Well, well, who can believe? What are you doing in Johannesburg?" Kumalo looked at the visitors. "I come on business," he said. "I am sure my friends will excuse us. My own brother, the son of our mother, has come." The 2 men rose, and they all said, "Stay well and go well." "Do you know the Reverend Msimangu, my brother?" "Well, well, he is known to everybody. Everybody knows the Reverend Msimangu. Sit down, gentlemen. I think we must have some tea." He went to the door and called into the place behind, "Is your wife Esther well, my brother?" John Kumalo smiled his jolly and knowing smile. "My wife Esther has left me these 10 years, my brother." "And have you married again?" "Well, well, not what the church calls married, you know, but she is a good woman." "You wrote nothing of this, brother." "No, how could I write? You people in Indocheni do not understand the way life is in Johannesburg. I thought it better not to write." "That is why you stopped writing." "Well, well, that could be why I stopped. Trouble, brother, unnecessary trouble." "But I do not understand. How is life different in Johannesburg?" "Well, that is difficult. Do you mind if I speak in English? I can explain these things better in English." "Speak in English then, brother." "You see, I have had an experience here in Johannesburg. It is not like Indocheni. One must live here to understand it." He looked at his brother. "Something new is happening here," he said. He did not sit down, but began to speak in a strange voice. He walked about and looked through the window into the street, and up the ceiling and into the corners of the room as though something were there and must be brought out. "Down in Indocheni I am nobody, even as you are nobody, my brother. I am subject to the chief, who is an ignorant man. I must salute him and bow to him, and he is an educated man. Here in Johannesburg I am a man of some importance, of some influence. I have my own business, and when it is good I can make £10–12 a week." He began to sway to and fro. He was not speaking to them. He was speaking to people who were not there. "I do not say we are free here. I do not say we are free as men should be, but at least I am free of the chief. At least I am free of an old and ignorant man who is nothing but a white man's dog. He is a trick to hold together something that the white man desires to hold together." He smiled his cunning and knowing smile, and for a moment addressed himself to his visitors. But it is not being held together, he said. It is breaking apart, your tribal society. It is here in Johannesburg that the new society is being built. Something is happening here, my brother. He paused for a moment, then he said, I do not wish to offend you gentlemen, but the church too is like the chief. You must do so and so and so. You are not free to have an experience. A man must be faithful and meek and obedient, and he must obey the laws, whatever the laws may be. It is true that the church speaks with a fine voice, and that the bishops speak against the laws, but this they have been doing for 50 years, and things get worse, not better. His voice grew louder, and he was again addressing people who were not there. Here in Johannesburg it is the mines, he said. Everything is the mines. These high buildings, this wonderful city hall, this beautiful park town with its beautiful houses, all this is built with the gold from the mines. This wonderful hospital for Europeans, the biggest hospital south of the equator, it is built with the gold from the mines. There was a change in his voice. It became louder, like the voice of a bull or a lion. Go to our hospital, he said, and see our people lying on the floors. They lie so close you cannot step over them. But it is they who dig the gold, for 3 shillings a day. We come from the Transkei, from the Basuto land, and from Bechuanaland, and from Swaziland, and from Zululand, and from Indochina also. We live in the compounds. We must leave our wives and families behind. And when the new gold is found, it is not we who will get more for our labor. It is the white men's shares that will rise, and you will read it in all the papers. They go mad when new gold is found. They bring more of us to live in the compounds, to dig under the ground for 3 shillings a day. They do not think here is a chance to pay more for our labor. They think only here is a chance to build a bigger house and buy a bigger car. It is important to find gold, they say, for all South Africa is built on the mines. He growled and his voice grew deep. It was like thunder that was rolling. But it is not built on the mines, he said. It is built on our backs, on our sweat, on our labor. Every factory, every theater, every beautiful house, they are all built by us. And what does a chief know about that? But here in Johannesburg they know. He stopped and was silent, and his visitors were silent also, for there was something in this voice that compelled one to be silent. And Stephen Khumalo sat silent, for this was a new brother that he saw. John Khumalo looked at him. The bishop says it is wrong, he said, but he lives in a big house, and his white priests get 4, 5, 6 times what you get, my brother. He sat down and took out a large red handkerchief to wipe his face. That is my experience, he said. That is why I no longer go to the church. And that is why you did not write any more. Well, it could be the reason. That, and your wife Esther? Yes, both perhaps. It is hard to explain in a letter. Our customs are different here. And Msimangu said, Are there any customs here? John Khumalo looked at him. There is a new thing growing here, he said, stronger than any church or chief. You will see it one day. And your wife, why did she leave? Well, said John Khumalo with his knowing smile. She did not understand my experience. You mean, said Msimangu coldly, that she believed in fidelity? John looked at him suspiciously. Fidelity, he said. But Msimangu was quick to see that he did not understand. Perhaps we should speak Zulu again, he said. The angry vein stood out on the great bull neck, and who knows what angry words might have been spoken, but Stephen Khumalo was quick to intervene. Here is the tea, my brother. That is kind of you. The woman was not introduced, but took round the tea humbly. When she had gone, Khumalo spoke to his brother. I have listened attentively to you, my brother. Much of what you say saddens me, partly because of the way you say it, and partly because much of it is true. And now I have something to ask of you, but I must tell you first that Gertrude is with me here. She is coming back to Indochina. Well, I shall not say it is a bad thing. Johannesburg is not a place for a woman alone. I myself tried to persuade her, but she did not agree, so we did not meet any more. And now I must ask you, where is my son? There is something like discomfort in John's eyes. He takes out his handkerchief again. Well, you have heard no doubt he was friendly with my son. I have heard that. Well, you know how these young men are. I do not blame them altogether. You see, my son did not agree well with his second mother. What it was about I could never discover, nor did he agree with his mother's children. Many times I tried to arrange matters, but I did not succeed. So he said he would leave. He had good work, so I did not stop him. And your son went with him. Where, my brother? I do not rightly know, but I heard that they had a room in Alexandria. Now wait a minute. They were both working for a factory. I remember. Wait till I look in the telephone book. He went to a table, and there Camillo saw the telephone. He felt a little pride to be the brother of a man who had such a thing. There it is. Doornfontein Textiles Company, 14 Crofts Street. I shall write it down for you, my brother. Can we not telephone them? Asked Camillo hesitantly. His brother laughed. What for? He asked. To ask if Absalom Camillo is working there, or to ask if they will call him to the telephone, or to ask if they will give his address? They do not do such things for a black man, my brother. It does not matter, said Msimangu. My hands are yours, my friend. They said their farewells and went out into the street. Ha, there you have it. Yes, we have it there. He is a big man in this place, your brother. His shop is always full of men, talking as you have heard. But they say you must hear him at a meeting, he and Dubula, and a brown man named Tomlinson. They say he speaks like a bull and growls in his throat like a lion, and could make men mad if he would. But for that they say he has not enough courage, for he would surely be sent to prison. I shall tell you one thing, Msimangu continued. Many of the things that he said are true. He stopped in the street and spoke quietly and earnestly to his companion. Because the white man has power, we too want power, he said. But when a black man gets power, when he gets money, he is a great man if he is not corrupted. I have seen it often. He seeks power and money to put right what is wrong, and when he gets them, why, he enjoys the power and the money. Now he can gratify his lusts. Now he can arrange ways to get white man's liquor. He can speak to thousands and hear them clap their hands. Some of us think when we have power, we shall revenge ourselves on the white man who has had power, and because our desires corrupt, we are corrupted, and the power has no heart in it. But most white men do not know this truth about power, and they are afraid lest we get it. He stood as though he was testing his exposition. Yes, that's right about power, he said, but there's only one thing that has power completely, and that is love. Because when a man loves, he seeks no power, and therefore he has power. I see only one hope for our country, and that is when white men and black men, desiring neither power nor money, but desiring only the good of their country, come together to work for it. He was grave and silent, and then he said somberly, I have one great fear in my heart, that one day when they are turned to loving, they will find we are turned to hating. This is not the way to get to Doornfontein, he said. Come, let us hurry. And Camillo followed him silently, oppressed by the grave and somber words. But they were not successful at Doornfontein, though the white men treated them with consideration. Msimangu knew how to arrange things with white men, and they went to a great deal of trouble and found that Absalom Camillo had left them some 12 months before. One of them remembered that Absalom had been friendly with one of the workmen, Dlamini, and this man was sent for from his work. He told them that when he had last heard Absalom was staying with a Mrs. Mdlela of end of Sophiatown, the street that separates Sophiatown from the European suburb of Westdean. He was not sure, but he thought that the number of the house was 105. So they returned to Sophiatown and indeed found Mrs. Mdlela at 105 End Street. She received them with a quiet kindness, and her children hid behind her skirts and peeped out at the visitors. But Absalom was not there, she said. But wait, she had had a letter from him asking about the things he had left behind. So while Camillo played with her children and Msimangu talked to her husband, she brought out a big box full of papers and other belongings and looked for the letter. And while she was searching and Msimangu was watching her kind and tired face, he saw her stop in her search for a moment and looked at Camillo for a moment, half curiously and half with pity. At last she found the letter, and she showed him the address, Mrs. Mkizi, 79 23rd Avenue, Alexandria. Then they must drink a cup of tea, and it was dark before they rose to leave, and the husband stepped out with Camillo into the street. Why did you look at my friend with pity? Asked Msimangu of the woman. She dropped her eyes, then raised them again. He is an Mfundis, she said. Yes, I did not like his son's friends, nor did my husband. That is why he left us. I understand you. Was there anything worse than that? No, I saw nothing, but I did not like his friends. Her face was honest and open, and she did not drop her eyes again. Good night, mother. Good night, Umfundis. Out in the street they said farewell to the husband and set off back to the mission house. Tomorrow, said Msimangu, we go to Alexandra. Kimalo put his hand on his friend's arm. The things are not happy that brought me to Johannesburg, he said, but I have found much pleasure in your company. Ha, said Msimangu, ha. We must hurry or we shall be late for our food.